Hello! I know some of you guys have trouble with filling a sketchbook and painting every day. So if you are looking for motivation to paint today, I hope this video is it. I want you to grab some pencils, ink, watercolor, gouache, whatever you have and whatever you prefer drawing with. We will fill a sketchbook double page. And I hope you either paint along or paint your own motifs. Let's just paint together and have a nice time. Let's go! Let me just get my black Uniball fine liner brush pen, as well as this Faber-Castell pigment marker. I also like to use my Derwent Inktense ink pencils, and they are very nice. Something else that is very handy is this Uniposca white marker pen with the fine tip. So the tip is 0.7 millimeters. I also get a pencil as well as an eraser and of course some water, my Da Vinci brushes, and I also have my newest addition, a very simple graduate Daler-Rowney round wash brush. And of course I'll need my sketchbook.
And it's voiceover Francis here. Hi! I just get rid of my rings and then we can begin. For the motif, I was really inspired by my theme for this month's bullet journal and the stickers I created with it. The theme was grassland and it had a deer as well as a hedgehog, and I decided to go with forest animals for this double page. I will go with a rabbit first, but I definitely also want to do a hedgehog and a deer. As soon as I have my pencil drawing down, I will use my Faber-Castell 0.4 fine liner to outline my sketch. And with this very first sketch, I am very unhappy. But the nice thing about the Inktense or watercolor pencils in general is that you can correct mistakes, and that is what I'm going to do. These pencils are such a nice mix of watercolor or ink effect and pencils. With the help of this mix, you can easily correct mistakes. You want to start with a general layer of shadows, where the darkest spots of your drawing are going to be. For this rabbit, I want the light source to come from the upper right corner, which is why the shadows will be darkest on the lower left corner. But I also wanted to correct its weird head, which is why there is a dark line on the upper right corner where there actually shouldn't be. These Inktense pencils will also get a bit darker as soon as you wash over them with water, which is very nice, for example, for animals' eyes or their snouts or very dark areas where you need a dark shadow. It makes it look quite lively. Now for the second one, I started to draw this hedgehog. And you can really see why they are called hedgehog. If you only draw their snouts and eyes, they do look like a tiny pig, except with round ears. I painted its eyes completely with fine liner because I wanted them to be even darker than with the Inktense possible. I am, however, making a mistake by drawing the prickles all in one continuous line. There definitely should have been some gaps in there. The prickles stand outwards in all the directions. You want to change up the way you hold your fine liner and the direction of your strokes every now and then. I want to use a green color for the hedgehog, and on my last sketchbook page I test out the different green colors I have available. I use some water to see how the greens would behave and also change. And I'd love to know which one you would have chosen. If you want to, you can tell me in the comments. I went with this Derwent Inktense teal green. I oftentimes do this, that the last page of my sketchbook is used like a scrap page where I can try the different mediums before I use them in there, because I had quite some few drawings which I ruined because I used a medium for the first time in a new sketchbook and the page reacted very poorly to it. So that's a tip for beginners. You should always try out your mediums in your new sketchbook before you paint with them. If you paint a double page with different objects, you want to make sure that the light source stays the same for all of your drawings. That way it will look more cohesive and also more natural. Because the light source is still in the upper right corner, we want to have the hedgehog's prickles be darker on the left side. And here you want to be especially careful of your negative space, because once you paint it over something, you cannot go back unless you use, for example, a uni Posca pen or an acrylic marker or acrylic ink that is very opaque. That's also why I am moving all over the place with my pencil. I don't want to accidentally make one part of the drawing too dark, because then I would be forced to do the rest of the drawing in the same light relation. If you recreate these drawings, I'd love to see them. I am on Instagram, and I'd also love to hear your suggestions if you are interested in other draw with me's, paint with me's, and have a theme you would like to see on a double sketchbook. If you need some motivation, I'd be happy to include it in a video and we could paint together. And I accidentally used the wrong color on a tiny spot, and you can immediately see it. It is very clearly visible. So these Inktense pencils are definitely very vibrant in color. In the center, I want a deer. And painting deers isn't as easy as I had hoped. Usually I paint them while they are drinking from a stream or they are eating grass on a meadow, and they always have their head facing down. This time I wanted it to face the viewer and paint all of its funky details that a deer has on its head. And they look kind of like a goat, don't they? Except for its ears. Just like the hedgehog looked like a pig, but with round ears. It's really interesting if you study and draw animals and you know they are from the same mammal family, you can definitely see and use the similarities they have. The very basic shadows, the most important shadows, I paint with my fine liner as well. And then I start to go over it with the ink black Inktense pencil. When you look at the ears, you can see I am trying to make the negative space enhance the fact that there is a lot of hair on the deer's ear. Because they do have quite some fur on there, you want to be sure that your pencil strokes and the negative space resemble that. This turned out to be my favorite. Even though I think the hedgehog is quite cute, I enjoyed painting the deer even more. Again, I use many tiny strokes to make sure that the shadows look like they are reflected off of fur. What you should know, however, about these Inktense pencils is that they are not very light fast. In fact, if you compare them to, for example, Faber-Castell watercolor pencils or the Caran d'Ache Supra Color, they are not light fast at all. And you definitely need to be aware of that when you decide to paint or draw with them. And our sketch is finished. But it looks quite empty, doesn't it? Usually I paint a cohesive background that connects these sketches together. And the only thing green currently is the hedgehog, which looks kind of out of place. I want to have another green spot, so I paint some grass underneath the rabbit where it is sitting in. Also, I want to have some leaves in the background as the connecting background piece. And the hedgehog is kind of floating in the middle of the page, so I give it a shadow underneath. And that is also very handy to paint with watercolor pencils or these Inktense pencils. I would say when you go over them with water, about 60% of the pigment stays in place and 40% are able to be distributed wherever you want them to be, which is perfect for shadows because shadows are darkest just below the object and they turn lighter towards the edges. To have even more of that green color present on my sketchbook page, I decided to use this color for the leaves as well. And I love how they frame the hedgehog on the right side. Maybe it is one leaf too much. I could have done with one less, but it is also kind of cute. And now I am very careful to create a flat color layer because I want the leaves to look flat and non-dimensional, which isn't as easy as you might think. If there is a blot of ink, you can get rid of it with a tissue nearby. But sometimes you only realize you put down too much pigment when it is too late. The left side of the sketchbook went fine, but on the right side I realized I had pressed down too much with the pencil and the leaves on the right side are way darker. But that's okay because it is a sketchbook and I just want to have fun while sketching and it's really no big deal. And the double sketchbook page is finished. If you followed along this far, thank you so much. Be sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed painting with me, and maybe even subscribe if you want to catch my next video. I can't wait. Bye.